Now that we have our structural floors in, we need to come in and start to draw in our finished flooring material. Now, our finished flooring material is going to be such information as the carpeting, the wood floors, any kind of tile, anything you might think of as a floor finish. In the case of our project, what we're going to have is we're going to have carpeting in this area right here, as well as some carpeting in our bedroom. Also, there's going to be some tile. There's going to be in our bathroom area, in our kitchen area, the dining room area, and it'll also carry over into the pantry area. I'll also mention that down in our basement, we're going to have an interesting condition because we're going to have tile down in this area, we're going to have tile in our bathroom, and we're even going to have some tile actually in our bedroom area, where I guess we're just going to throw down a big Oriental rug or something to cover that up so you don't have cold feet in the morning. But we are going to have a tile down there as well. Let's go back up to the first floor and start to draw it in. To begin with, I'm going to come up here to our floor and select on the floor tool. Now, the kind of floor that you want to do, you can pick that off of the type selector list here. And for this very first one, it's going to be a carpeted floor. So I'm going to choose on carpet as our option. Now, we need to make sure that this is at the right elevation inside of the Revit model. It is going to be on the first floor, so that's doing real good. But the height at offset shouldn't be -4 inches like it's showing here. In reality, this should be just a plus 1/4 of an inch. Now, this should be whatever the thickness of your flooring material should be. In reality, I guess this is a really cheap carpet because at 1/4 of an inch, there's barely enough room for the pad and the carpet to be laid down. But that's what I'm putting in here, just a real cheap carpet. We'll have the same flooring material thicknesses as well when it comes time to do the tile in the other parts of our building. So once that's set to 1/4 of an inch, you can either click on apply or just move your mouse over here. You notice after your mouse is moved over into the main part of the screen that the apply button automatically grays itself out because it will automatically apply itself whenever you move your mouse over into your drawing area. One last thing that I'm going to change first is I'm going to come up here to where it says extend in the wall core. Now, while I could keep that, I don't really want it for this exercise. I don't want any changes done to our walls. So I'm just going to clear that one out and get going from there. Now I'm going to come up here to the line tool and just start to draw out the exact spots where I want our carpeting to be installed at. So I'm going to zoom up here. I'm going to pick the intersection of these two walls. And it becomes that big game of connect the dots again, going from point to point to point all the way around your rooms. Now, when I come up here, I actually have a decision that I need to make. Is this going to be carpet in here? And is this going to be carpet in here? And at any time during this process, might that change? In other words, maybe the carpet in this room is going to be too expensive as compared to the carpet in this room. So as a result of that, I might have one carpet in here that's a different style of carpet, maybe a different color, maybe just a completely different type of carpeting. If that's the case, do I have a separate carpet floor placed in here as opposed to in here? For my own decision, I know that I'm just going to leave the same kind of carpeting throughout the house. So I'm just going to make this all be part of one flooring system. So I'm going to go ahead and take that around the corner and continue to connect the dots all the way around the inside here. I'll also mention, if you've used Revit very much, you'll know that there's a Pick Lines tool here. The reason why I'm not using the Pick Lines tool is sometimes that extends up and goes beyond a little bit too far. And I find that just drawing the lines in individually, one by one, is a much more accurate way, a much easier way in the long run to just draw this in without having to make any changes after the fact. So I am running the carpeting into the closet area. I'm going to draw it over to here. And now I have a decision to make. And that decision is that I know that this is going to be a bathroom area. If this is my bathroom area, do I take carpet into it? Probably not. I probably want to have this be still some more of my tile flooring. That being said, what happens here? How is this transition made between here and this spot right here? In this case, I'm going to choose to bring my carpeting into this space, come directly over, and come back down. Now, in reality, what happens is there's actually a transition piece usually installed here, or maybe they actually are going to bring the carpeting into right here, and that transition piece will show up right between this spot and this spot right here. Usually it's a little metal strip that's going to keep you from tripping over the tile when you step off of the carpeting and go onto the tile floor. We can actually see that here at our front door, where our front door actually has that already built into itself, where there's this transition piece between here and going outside of the building. In this case, we ended up drawing the carpet just directly underneath there because the extra tiny little bit of material that's going to be drawn underneath here, you're not going to see inside of floor plan views. You're not going to see in elevation views. You're not going to see it anywhere. So as a result of that, the only place you're ever going to see this actually occurring, other than this view when we're drawing the carpet, of course, is in your total square footage numbers for the amount of material that's going to be inside of your space. Now, personally, I don't care about that extra little bit of material that's going to be right here. Frankly, whenever you're installing your carpet, there's always going to be a little bit of waste anyway. So as a result of that, I'm just going to go straight across there. That being said, I'm going to go straight up from here. And we will run into that kind of condition in a couple of other spots, and I'll address that when we hit it. I'm going to come up here, directly up to this back wall, and then back to this far wall over here, making sure for a fact that I have hit it and it's one continuous line if we followed it all the way around the perimeter of our building. Once you get that far, you can click on the big green check mark here, and you should see carpet now has been put in place throughout that entire area that we just drew into. So now let's come in and start to add some tile in here. First, I'm going to add tile into the bathroom area. And in order to be able to do that, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to pick on the floor tab here. And I once again clear out this extends in the wall core. And I'm going to use my line work tool to just draw completely around the perimeter of this bathroom. Now this also leads to another one of those decisions. Do I take this material straight down here? Because more than likely I'm not going to tile underneath my bathtub area. Or do I take it back to this wall, which is what I'm doing, and have it just go all the way around the perimeter of the room? Well, it's kind of a personal decision. Since I haven't actually put in the bathtub just yet, and I don't know if it's going to come out right to the edge of the wall or whether or not it's going to stop right here. And I'm never going to see this flooring material ever again once that bathtub unit is placed right in there. I'm just going to go ahead and just go all the way around the perimeter so I don't have to make any more adjustments to my floor after the fact. I'm not going to be using this for material takeoffs or anything along those lines, so I don't need to know the exact square footage of my floor material inside of my space. But if you are concerned about that, if you want it to be modeled just every bit more accurate, instead of taking it back to this back wall, just draw it straight down. You can always modify the floors later and make those adjustments so you can get those proper quantities off of it. In this case, since it's not going to affect my end result, I'm just going to come up here to the big green check mark and finish this floor. Now I realize that there's going to be a problem when I do it because this needs to be tile, and I never chose tile off the properties over here on the left-hand side. But because my floor is highlighted, I can click on the floor here, and I can just change this to be VCT, and it just changes this piece of floor automatically. And this is a lot easier than if I had came in and drawn each of these floors in attached to the actual structural members that are going to be supporting it, which is the reason why I originally had an individual structural floor on the underneath side here, while I have a finished floor material up above it, because it's just easier to change and modify now and after the fact. Now let's go ahead and finish this up by putting in our floor tile through this area up here. So I'm going to come up here, execute the floor tool one more time, make sure that this is changed to the tile, make sure this first floor and 1/4 is set as your defaults, clear out the extend in the wall core if it came back up again, and once again use the line work tool in order to be able to draw this in. We're going to draw all the way around the perimeter. We're going to draw this flooring material into our pantry area. I'm always zooming in and out to make sure that I get the right intersection. It's really easy to pick the wrong point, particularly for novice Revit users who aren't used to zooming in and out. They'll continue to try to just stay way out here. Always zoom in. It's not going to hurt you. This is another spot where I have to make one of those decisions because there's going to be cabinetry right here as well as up here. Do I want to put this tile floor underneath it, because really when you're constructing it, you wouldn't. I'm going to make the same decision that I made down here. Because I'm not going to see it, I'm not going to be taking material quantity takeoffs off of it. I'm going to place it underneath my cabinetry, because it's easier for me to draw this floor in now, since I don't know where that information is going to be at, just right to the perimeter, and it's not going to affect anything else I'm going to be doing later on. But if you think that you will need to take those quantities at some point, you can always come back in and adjust where this floor location is at after the fact, after you've placed in your cabinets. I'm going to take this back around to the start. Make sure you click on the big green check mark here, and you'll see that you now have your flooring material up here on the floor up above. Now I'm going to leave this blank because there doesn't need to be any flooring material in here. This is going to be where you're going to have your pipes, your ductwork coming up from out of the basement. Let's go down into the basement area and put in our flooring material down here. Like I mentioned, this is all going to be tiled down here, down below. So I'm going to select on floor. I'm going to change this to be VCT. You notice how this didn't automatically change. It's just taken on the defaults from the last floor that we did. So we might need to change this to be a basement floor. And once again, we're going to keep that same thickness because it's going to be the same materials that we used up on the upper level. And I'm going to clear, extend it in the wall core, just like we did before. Now I need to pick a place to start, and this is as good a place as any. And I'm going to start to draw this around the perimeter of my floor and the perimeter of my walls. I'm going to come straight down and follow this around, take it into our closet areas, making this all one kind of flooring type. Come straight up, come over. Now, I could kind of bring this over, but I like to keep it at least somewhat structurally sound and right. So I'm just keep on following this wall all the way around. I'm going to move this up so it's at the right location. Going to drop down here. Going to follow around the corner. Wrapping this material around. Actually, in this condition, this place right here, this is going to be an unfinished floor area. So if you've drawn a line in that you didn't want to have, there's something that you can do. If you just hit the escape key once on your keyboard, then hit it a second time, select on that line, and just hit the delete key. And it'll automatically get rid of those lines that we've been drawing around the perimeter. Now, if we select on this line up here, we can then continue our way on around. We're going to drop it into here because this is our doorway to our bathroom. It's going to have the same flooring material associated with it. And I'm going to make the same design decision that I was making before and just take this flooring material on up and through and into that space. And where the bathtub is going to be sitting, we're going to just take that material right into there. Almost done. Going to finish this by moving this all the way on around. Coming up here. And when I drew this, I did see one other thing that needs to be fixed. So I'm going to hit the escape key one more time. I'll hit it again, and I'm going to move over here. I can see that I missed this little corner right here. So let me show you a trick. I'm going to come up here to this line right here, and I'm going to start to draw my line around. From here, around my doorway, and back down. Now I still have this extra little piece of material left, and I could drag this endpoint to here and just draw another line. But another tool that you have, it's called the Split Element tool. And if you click on Split Element, you can check this box that says Delete Inner Segment. Now if I pick this point where they intersect at, and you can see a little gray line that just comes up when I get to that point, and I pick another intersection right there, you can see how it ends up cleaning these lines up. And you could have done this on any of these different intersections where these things come together at, if that would end up helping clean up that floor area. So as a result of that, I'm going to zoom back out. We can see where our flooring material is going to be placed at. And I'm just going to click on the big green check mark right here. And we can see where our vinyl tile is getting placed down in our lower level. So just remember, it's always best to just sort of draw out the perimeter and then use your editing tools such as split, or being able to just use your line work tools to draw around the perimeter wherever you'd like to have your flooring material actually be inserted into your building.